To be here. It's simply completely unique. There is nothing else like it on the planet. It's all about humans. It's human stories. They're completely alone. They can't bring family, friends. There is no outside assistance. Everything that moves their boat through the water is because of the skipper. It's a completely unscripted adventure. No one knows exactly what's going to happen.
McIntyre Golden Globe, around the world from the south to north, December 6, 26. Yay!
Whoa, here we go. Henry, good to see you. So, been a while. Anyway, where are you now? Where are you and what's happening?
I'm in Salisbury at the moment. I'm just staying. I'm staying with family up in Salisbury whilst my boat's just moved to Gosport. So I've just finished my job, which is fantastic, and now I'm full time on the campaign. So I'm doing the sort of daily commute to finish off the refit.
Jeepers, we'll get into that, but that's a bit epic when you say you finish your job because you're in the services, you're in the army, which we'll get to later. But you've got time off, or you've resigned from the army, or
No, so the army are very kindly letting me do it on duty as a sort of adventurous pursuit that they'd like their people to be doing. So they sort of shift me sideways into sort of the grey space for a year, and let me go and do my thing, and then I'll go back in and pick up another job when I finish. So it's brilliant for them to have done that.
Yeah, that's
and,
pretty cool.
Takes a load off for me.
So you think it's so they think it's a little bit adventurous, eh? Solo in the GGR.
Well, I tell you what, Todd, I had to because strictly speaking, going to do it on duty.
Yeah.
I had to do a risk assessment because clearly they still bear responsibility if I'm employed by them.
Oh, Jesus.
So I had to fill in a risk assessment. But to be honest, I really just provided them with the notice of race because you've been doing this a lot longer than we have. And all of the stuff they need is in there. So it just needed me to sort of put it into army speak and how we deal with risk. But all of the meat is already there because clearly you've already mitigated all the risks down anyway.
Yeah. So then they said yes. Then they commented, "Geez, this is good."
Some tricky conversations. I don't think the risk assessment is nighttime reading for my mother. Let's put it like that. But
yeah, all right. Well, we won't talk about it anymore.
They said yes.
It keeps them off the hook, so that if you don't ask the questions, they don't need to know. So that's cool. Well, that's exciting for you and us because I got to say before we get too far, I watched your videos, your video productions on your buying the boat and coming across the Atlantic and everything. They're fantastic. Like, how many views have you had now on them?
I think that the ones across the Atlantic, I think for some reason, I don't really understand YouTube, but the middle one where I got stuck in fog for a bit, no one really watched. And then the one where I picked the boat up, people do love boat refit and sort of fiddling videos. And then the third one where I got caught in some pretty bad storms, I think I've got about 170,000 on each of them, but which is nice. I mean, to be honest, I film because when I'm on my own, filming is quite a good fourth wall. It's something to do. And something to talk to. It's always better to externalize things rather than just sit on them. And then it's just a case of drawing all of the bits together, mainly because I want, none of my family and friends are going to sit through unedited footage. So I edit it. And I thought, well, I'll pop it up on YouTube anyway.
See what happens.
I was quite surprised that so many people are interested.
Yeah, great. That's exactly what I did in my circumnavigation. I had a camera. This is back in 1990. They were analog video 8. But it's sort of like you see something or you do something, so, check this out. So you grab the camera and you just as if you're talking to your mates on the camera. It's actually quite a good thing. So same deal. Okay, so let's just quickly to the boat. You've got a Cape George 36, the same as Kirsten. Why that boat? Why did you choose that boat? And
I signed up in sort of Christmas 23, 24, and then started looking at the boats. And I'm quite sort of, I try to be organised, and my principle was always that I could very easily get outsailed by somebody, or just be unlucky. You have to finish. Really, that's the main thing. But I thought I'd like to be in a boat that if I finished, I possibly could win. So I didn't want to sort of be down at the 32-foot end of the bracket
Yeah.
of the class. So I was looking at sort of 5 or 6 types, the 36-foot types that are up there. So the Biscay, the Rustler, the Saga, etc. And I just did, I ran all the numbers and the analysis, and I think I was taken by the long waterline length. And also I sailed to New Zealand in a little a Maxi 9.5, which is a little sort of 4-ton fiberglass bathtub, and I was quite taken with buying a really heavy seakeeping boat. And now clearly the whole class is quite heavy compared to my last boat, but the Cape George I think is 3 tons heavier than anything else, possibly. Except there's some weird ones in there, like the Toshiba I think might be quite heavy. But the most of the other people are doing it in around 8 or 9 tons, and I'm fairly sure that I'm about 12 tons because they're all slightly custom, the boats. So that made the comfort factor quite high. So I did an analysis and just thought that the Cape George looked the best boat. It wasn't so much that Kirsten had done well in it, or it's nice to see that somebody had done well in it, because of course Simon also did very well and went very fast in the Biscay. So it's the sailor, I think, in terms of that top end. But I wanted to be in one of the boats that was fast enough to do well if I was to finish. And I tell you what, I picked her up from, I bought her in Massachusetts, flew over, 4 days of prep, and then went, which was quite stressful. But actually, she was well set up for cruising already, and she's a complete rapier, Don. I mean, I mean, I was struggling to keep her slow enough for it to be safe. So I was really pleased with my decision. It's also just, I'd never sailed a long keel boat offshore before. And so the way she would track was just fantastic. But then again, there's disadvantages. I hadn't really appreciated that with such a long boom. She's got a 5-meter boom, so really big mainsail area. And the staysail and the Yankee trim becomes so important that if she's out of trim, if she's got too much of one sail up, she just doesn't, the forces are just incredible. So, you need lots of reefs in the main. And I whinged about it quite a lot in the video because I was feeling grumpy about how she only had 2 reefs in the main, which made her unmanageable because, of course, you either had no main and she was unbalanced, or you had far too much main and she was unbalanced. But clearly that's quite an easy thing to sort out. So I didn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, interesting discussion. I without having even sailed on a Cape George 36, I agree with everything you're saying. And I remember when Kirsten popped up with the Cape George 36 when she first said it, I said, "What's that?" And I looked at the numbers and I thought, "Holy dooly, this is really interesting." Because she was there's still boats out there that no one's put in the GGR yet, but it's an impressive design. And the other thing about the design that I observed watching Kirsten go around is so much buoyancy in the bow, right? It's completely unique, and it makes a unique bow wave as well. You'll see this, like always, like white horses, in your mouth, whatever. It's got a lot of buoyancy in the bow. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how you go, and you've got 2 others to beat. There's 3 Cape Georges.
That's true. Are they all the right side of the world yet? I'm trying to remember who.
No, not at all. No. Steve's still going flat out with his on the refit and stuff, and he's training. And then you've got jeepers, I've gone blank on his name now. The American services guy. Anyway, he's did 22,000 mile qualifier from the east coast of America down to Hawaii, New Zealand, round Cape Horn, back to Florida.
Is Coleman a Cape George?
No, Coleman's in the Tiana 37, right? No, it's Matt. Yeah, Matt. He's an ex-services guy from the States. Good sailor, great boat. He's owned that boat for about 12 years, and he did a refit, and he's been, he literally did a loop, and now his timelines are tight, but he's cool. He's gone back to the West Coast. He'll do a little refit, and then he'll sail across the Atlantic. But yeah, he's done a lot of miles on the boat, so it'll be fun watching you guys on there. Anyway, enough of that. We didn't plug your video. How do they find your video on YouTube? Your videos.
The channel is called Intrepid Hippo.
That's it. Yeah, Intrepid Hippo. Yeah.
my last boat that I sailed from the UK to New Zealand was called Hippolyta, so she was the Hippo. Hence the name.
All right, the conversation's getting boring. It's all sailing. So take me back to when you were a little boy. Okay, so you're born in England, going to
Yeah.
school. What got you? What was your first career? You know, how did that all evolve? And where did sailing interface with that, or boats?
So I didn't start sailing till I was 29.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up in England, well, around the place. My father was in the forces as well, so all over the place. I did a bit of dinghy sailing when I was 5 or 6, and then it sort of tapered out as things do, going in and out of your life when you're that age.
Yeah.
And then sort of school and university up in Scotland, and then joined the army when I was 22. So I
Right.
didn't sail so it'd been 7 years. I was in the army for 7 years before I decided. Well, I went down to the south coast one day with a mate who had a small 22-foot cruiser racer. He said,
Yeah.
"Come and have a sail on her." And then
Yeah.
at the end of the sale, he offered to sell her to me for £2,000. I thought that sounds like a good laugh. So I bought this boat and sort of poodled around the south coast of England for a year or two. Really enjoyed it and thought, well, I'd quite like to go and sail longer distances. So I took 18 months out of the army, bought a slightly bigger boat, a 30-foot Maxi 95, which I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
and refit her from the ground up and sailed her to New Zealand. Half of that was with a friend, and then the second half was solo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got my day skipper qualification the week before I left because the insurers insisted.
Day skipper. Yeah.
Yeah, but I always, I think I'm technically minded. I've always enjoyed working things out, and what with YouTube and all of the great books that still exist, like Calder and all those other ones,
Yeah.
plus YouTube, there's really nothing you can't do
Yeah.
if you put your mind to working it out. And actually, I found it. I was able to teach myself 12-volt electrics and 230-volt electrics and all the boat stuff, and then it became about gaining the experience in the boat as you went. Which was perhaps the more sketchy thing. But to be honest, I've done a fair amount of coastal sailing, and actually, offshore sailing, in my view, is coastal scaling skills with military planning, preparation, and risk mitigation attached to it. There's no difference between risk mitigation as a sailor to risk mitigation in what I do. And so, if you know basically how to sail, a lot of the other skills that are taught on, like the Ocean Master qualification, the RY Ocean qualification, it's the same thing. And how much water do you need for a passage? Okay, well, I've sort of done that sort of thing before. How do you mitigate risk and have loads of comp plans in place if something goes wrong? So I was quite comfortable, which I was surprised by. So that's why I sort of did that solo passage, and that was probably what led me to be here today.
We skipped over a few big chunks there, which I'm going to take you back a bit again.
Yeah, sure.
If there's something that you don't want to talk about, just bypass it in the thing. But you said your father was in the services and you're moving around a lot. You got brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got an older brother and a younger brother.
So that whole thing moving around, with the thing, was that all within UK or was Europe or other countries as well? Or?
Yeah, UK, Germany, Northern Ireland, sort of the places that the UK armed forces tend to sort of poke around, but mainly in the UK.
And what was fun? What was fun for you as an individual when you were doing that schooling and all that sort of stuff? Like what other activity were you doing?
So I'm a big rugby player. I enjoy rugby. And I suppose spearfishing now, but I suppose that wasn't when I was a child. I got into spearfishing a bit later and freediving. But yeah, rugby was a big one. I used to like remote control planes a long time ago. But that sort of thing.
And so why the army? Besides your father's influence, did you have another career from the time you finished your education? Straight into the services.
No, I didn't take a gap year before university, and I didn't take a gap year after. I was straight into the army. I'm going to sound. There's a risk I'm going to sound like some sort of recruiting sort of poster, but quite honestly, I wanted to do something where I'd have lots of responsibility early on. At the time, there's still the opportunity to go on operations to Afghanistan, and so it was what I wanted to do, and the army. It's a funny one that when you leave the university, a lot of your civilian friends go into banking or law or whatever, and right at the beginning, they're doing almost nothing. They've got almost no responsibility. Whereas in the army, you do your year's training at Sandhurst as an officer, and then you immediately go and command 30 men. At the time, it was men in the infantry, so 30 men. And I went on operations. So you don't, that immediate level of responsibility you don't really get anywhere else. It does even out a bit later because the civilians then sort of accelerate a bit. But at the time, I thought, well, that's what I'd like. I like responsibility. I like the chance to go all over the place. I get itchy feet, Don. If I sit too long. And do one thing for too long. And the nice thing about the army is I do another job every 2 years. So it's 2-year jobs.
Yeah, keep going up the ladder. Are you allowed to talk about your rank and what you're involved with now? Like what section you're...
So I'm a major in the Rifles. The Rifles is an infantry battalion.
Yeah.
And I've just done, so the job that you do, the command job you do as a major is company command. So a company of between 50 and 100 soldiers. And that's the job I've just finished, which is, to be honest, it's been wonderful. It's the highlight of a military career, really. But it's been a real drama doing it at the same time as getting ready for the race, because of course, I've got 50 or 60 soldiers who deserve my primary attention 24/7, 365 days a year. So you're having to sort of squeeze in boat work around, making sure you're looking after your people. So it's all good fun, but it's good that it's ended now, so I can move on to this full time.
So did you have to keep it top secret and have only tell people with security clearance that you're doing the GGR, or all of your 40 or 50 guys are thinking you're bollocks, you got nuts, and what do they think?
Oh, to be honest, Don, the average rifleman doesn't really care about what his officer's personal life is.
Yeah.
No, I think they do know that I'm doing it, but it would be a little bit self-involved to start telling them all about my. Well, you have to be very careful with people who feel professionally obliged to follow your orders and listen to you, because it'd be very easy to bore them, and they wouldn't feel like they could leave.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So well, how did you squeak your your gap year or a year and a half in the little boat and see across the Atlantic and across the Pacific and so on? How did you find that time off?
I'm not entirely sure, Don. To be honest, I don't really know how that happened. So I did a job in London, having been serving in Northern Ireland for a fair time actually, which is just a long way from family and friends who are back in the mainland UK. Yep. So I did a job in London, and it was it was a really good job, really interesting, but hard work for 2 years. And during that time, COVID, and I was living on my own in a flat during lockdown and stuff. So I got I got a bit fragged and jaded by that. So I thought, I'd like to go and do something and just refresh myself a bit. Yeah. And the army offered this thing called career intermission, which I think is quite common in the civilian field. You go and take
a good idea, just to keep the spark there, right?
Well, absolutely, and I think one of these things where some people sort of turn their noses up and go, "Oh, it's kind of being a bit lazy," and the army's not going to get its money back. But actually, after 18 months in the Atlantic and then the Pacific,
you'd be happy to go back.
I came back in ready and raring to go because
I think it's a good idea.
I thought it was a brilliant system.
Yeah, it's human nature. No matter how good something is, you can get too much of it, and you want to go and do something else. It's a great idea. So, and you ended up in Pig Can and all that sort of stuff. That was another interesting film. Bit of contrast to that first film to the ones you're doing now, though.
Yeah, well, I got better at filmmaking, I suppose, and I had more kit with me, because it's quite niche. It's quite difficult skill, actually. All the YouTubers make it look quite easy, but it's actually bloody hard. No, I did, and I mean the whole point of that trip was the Pacific. So we rushed our way across the Atlantic, through the Caribbean. We barely stopped, because we wanted a full season in the Pacific. But we ultimately got undone just off Panama. So 800 miles out of Panama, our steering broke. So the quadrant broke on the steering. So we ended up in Ecuador. And my mate, who I owned the boat with, Sean, had to leave at that stage. So then I was faced with, and it took, 2 months to get a new steering system rigged. And so I sort of and ahed and did some risk analysis, and I bought a radar, and I decided I'd do the rest on my own, and had the time of my life. Pitcairn was good. Pitcairn was really unique. And Tahiti was a bit touristy perhaps, but then Tonga and Fiji are just wonderful.
Heaven on earth. That's our backyard, or it was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
yeah, amazing. Okay, so then you come back, and was there a particular moment about the GGR? Or you just watching the GGR first edition and thinking that'd be fun, or what got
So
you there?
I was aware. I've been tracking the first edition.
Yeah,
Sorry, I've been tracking vaguely the first edition just through sort
yeah,
of sailing press and stuff,
yeah,
and then I was more closely following the second edition.
yeah,
Mainly because it's fun to follow the tracker. The Vendée is fun for that as well. They're just following a race like that is good. It's good fun for 8 or 9 months, I think. But I was also, by that stage, I'd done a fair amount of solo sailing of my
yeah,
own,
yeah,
and I'd had a friend who I don't know how far he got actually, but he was very keen to do it. But um, I think his wife had doubts. Um, so I was aware of it, and actually, I started thinking about it seriously when I was offshore from Ecuador to Tahiti, which was 42 days,
yeah.
and I thought, it was going to get pretty tough towards the end. And actually, I just found that the longer I went, I just
The
got
more you
into
wanted to
more and
keep
more of a
going.
rhythm. I felt
Yeah,
I could have just gone on forever. And
yeah,
actually, later on in that trip, I had a mad hat plan to sail from Tahiti um, to Durban direct,
yeah,
through across the top of Australia in order to try and complete the circumnavigation in one season less than you really need. Um, Thankfully, I was saved from that foolishness by a broken chain plate 2 days out. But but I quickly realised that I was very happy offshore on my own,
yeah.
and that it was something that I could do. And after that was the case, I became more and more interested. And I was following it, and it was always in the back of my mind. But then you've got the sort of the twin spectres of how are you going to work it for your job, how
Yeah,
are you going to work it for the money, and all of this stuff.
yeah.
So that was on the cards, but I just had to work out how to do it.
Okay, so it's happy days at the moment. You've got out of the job for a while. Are you happy with what you've been doing? Is it still fun, at this point, or is it too much pressure, or not working out right, or
Um, No, it is fun, but
yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to get to the start line, and I always knew it would be. So I didn't come in thinking it'd be wonderfully fun being under the pressure of getting ready for a race with so little time, because I always knew I'd be under time pressure. Um, and I would be lying if I said that I don't get a little flutter of anxiety every time you send an email saying 5 months to go, competitors. I go, oh, Don, put a plug in it, mate. I can't deal with it.
every time. For the people that are watching this, we have this thing called an entrant update, right? And it's an official correspondence between us as organizer to the entrants, and they come. They've sort of been every couple of months, and then it goes every month, and then it's turning into every week now. And by the time we get to the start, it'll be every day. And every time I often start with, "Oh well, have a great time, guys. It's only 15 weeks to the start." And I just know every time an entrant reads it, they're pissed off and think, "Oh shit, why did he say that?" So anyway, but I think you're the first one to verbalise it. Yeah, quite funny,
No,
eh?
it's
Yeah,
it's 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 all good. I am enjoying it. I enjoy refitting boats,
yeah,
and I've been working on this refit for a couple of years, but just very, you don't get anything done when you're doing a day here, a day there. I'm now on it full time, and I'll get a lot done, but I'm just time limited. So I'll get there. I'm going to be all right.
yeah,
I've got the main structural things done now. It's just about plumbing and electrics and bits and bobs like that left
yeah.
now.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Military background, self-discipline and stuff. In fact, I've got to say, I'm always impressed when I see the boats finally arrive in the Sable d'Olonne. The standard of refit is looking really strong within the fleet. I mean, there's a few that are struggling because they signed up late and things like that, but looking good. So, in the scheme of things, are you on track, or are you 80% instead of 100% on track, or where are you at? Are you behind schedule, or
So I'm behind schedule. Um, so what I want is to not be refitting and working all the way through July, because I don't want to go on this race exhausted. Um, I'm behind for that,
yeah,
but I'm not at risk
yeah,
of not making it. And I've still got to do my qualifier, so I've still got to do
yeah,
go out for 2 or 3 weeks and do that
yeah, yeah,
qualifier.
yeah,
And so it's about where I place that, because I want to leave time after that to do some more stuff. But equally, it is worth my while to practice in as close to race finish boat. I mean, obviously it has to be the race finish boat, but clearly, there'll be bits and bobs. I want to get all of the bits and bobs done first so I can see if they work.
Yeah.
But you don't want to delay it too much because then you put yourself under intolerable time pressure.
In the perfect world, you turn up with the boat ready to go so you can focus on all the things that happened in the last 2 weeks. But anyway, you do what you do. So are your parents still with you? Your parents still alive?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
What do they think?
Well, I've always said they've got quite a high degree of redundancy. They've got two other brothers, so but no, they've been really supportive. They've been really supportive. My mum's going to be my campaign manager, and I suppose my father has been doing sterling service as sort of technical advisor / sort of.
Is he still working, or is he retired now? Or
no, they're both retired. So there's been, especially the last 3 weeks, it's just been outrageous amounts of admin to move the boat and about 6 carloads of stuff down to the south to get me set. And I've been lent a porter cabin by the boat so I can have all my stuff off the boat and in the porter cabin. Because of course, otherwise you have to move something every time you do something, which it just doesn't work. Yeah. And so today was actually my first, and he's been helping me with that. Today is my first day where everything is set and I just have to worry about the boat tasks, and it's an absolute dream because I've been playing the game in the Scottish winter where everything's on the boat. To do anything, I have to move stuff into the cockpit, and then it rains, and then I'll have to. It's just not workable.
Okay, so you'd be pretty set with navigation now with Celestial and all that sort of stuff. That's all part of the course.
Yeah, I'm pretty set. I need to refresh. So I did it through an online course originally, and you retain the login. So I'm actually just going to do the full course again anyway. I've done a fair amount offshore. I've done a fair amount offshore as well. What I really want to try and work on is my astro navigation. Yeah. Because I think you can probably get away with just doing sun run sun. But the more you have, the better, and also it'd be something to do. But it's about whether or not I have the time. My personal problem is not the maths of it. My personal problem is not being able to find the star. Because what happens is you have a star chart, but it's written in black and white ink. So to see it, you have to turn white light on, and then you turn the white light off. It takes 20 minutes for your eyes to accustom, and then you've forgotten what you looked at. So you have to put the white light on again and start the whole bloody thing over.
I don't go there. I was certified as a celestial navigator when I was 18, and I've never ever used stars. Except for the sun. I've only ever done the sun and a few other little bits. But anyway, so I don't go into star charts, but that's life. So. Okay, so that's all set, and have you got something that is driving you on, in the back of your mind with the GGR? What are you looking forward to most? What is the big attraction in simple terms?
So I think we're looking forward to a big attraction is probably separate for me. I think so. The big attraction of the GGR is that not many people have done it. Yeah, as in gone around the world solo.
Only 9 finishes total.
Yeah, but not many people have sailed. Since Sir Robin did it the first time. Yeah. It's like 230 people if you include everything. Yeah. And so that's I think I'd be lying if I didn't say that's a pretty big ego trip. I'd like to be one of those people. It's one of those. It's a challenge thing for me. Yeah. I want to approach the challenge, and I think a lot of it won't be an awful lot of fun, if I'm quite honest. Yeah. There's going to be tough times, so I'm approaching it as a challenge, and then when it's fun, I'll be in the positive column rather than thinking it's going to be an absolute laugh and then being in the negative column when it's not fun. Yeah. I think, to be honest, what I'm looking forward to the most, I'm looking forward to meeting all of the other skippers and sort of being in LSO. I think that's going to be a real buzz. It's Les Sables. Like I visualize the finish. Now I know that I've got to work really hard to get to the finish, and you can still be unlucky. So without thumbing my nose at Neptune, it's all about that sort of picture of you coming into Les Sables with everybody on the walls with your flares up in the air. That's the visual image that gets me out of bed in the morning. Yeah,
too true. And so do you consider? In fact, I think I know the answer, because you're a high achiever. I can see that, or you enjoy the responsibility. Are you a racer, a cruiser, or are you somewhere in between? You know what I mean? What's your angle on preference? Finishing?
I'd like to finish. I think if I finish, I will be thrilled and very happy.
Yeah.
I think I would like to win,
Yeah.
but I've no doubt that there's probably 21 better sailors than me in the race. And so if and when I get beaten by somebody who's a better sailor than me, then fair play, and I won't lose any sleep about that. I think my worry is the boat breaking in a way that I could have foreseen.
Yeah. I don't ask many skippers this, but I'm going to ask you. Do you think about the competition? You know what I mean? If you look at the other boats, you've done a competitive choice on your boat for speed. Do you start looking at the other entrants as competitors, and
No, well, I suppose a little bit, but not really, because actually I don't think that's the vibe. And actually, I want to be part of it. I don't want to be that outlier who's being sort of all like not sharing stuff and being unfriendly or competitive. It's not really me. So I'll be competitive, but in a friendly way. And I hear it's a real community once you get out there, and I'm all for being part of that more than I am for being competitive. I have looked at the other competitors. There's a few people in there who look like they're much better sailors than me.
It's really interesting listening to you. It's the Aussie definition and explanation of what you just said. Yes, I want to win, right? And honestly, I see you as one of the real guys that's got a real chance. I probably shouldn't say that, touch wood, but yeah, it's going to be fun because you're all mates, and every one of the entrants that I see are really great people, and they're all mates. But at the end of the day, when we're out there, it's also still a race. Isn't that funny? And that's part of the fun as well, I suppose. So anyway, you've got benchmarks with 2 other Cape George 36s and a couple of those other boats, so that'll be fun. So what do you think will be the from the race perspective? The gun's gone, or you take off and you're now in the GGR. Where's the biggest challenge? What do you think is the biggest issue that you've got to face?
I'm a bit concerned about the doldrums.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about them. So I understand, clearly I can't understand the Southern Ocean fully because I've never been there. But I can read about it, and I understand what sort of challenge it is, and so that can forearm you a little bit. It's heavy weather, it's big seas, it's a long time.
Yeah.
I think calms and light airs, probably most likely to be found in the doldrums, but I know you can also find it in the Southern Ocean depending on where you are. Bearing in mind Sir Robin's book, he got becalmed a few times in the Southern Ocean, but that, I think that's what concerns me, because I'm not a round the boys sailor. I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
I struggle enormously with things like spinnakers. And also I've chosen a heavyweight boat on the basis that I think 90% of the race will be raced in heavy airs. So the fact that I'm a heavy boat and could be outsailed in light airs probably doesn't matter that much, but it does mean that it takes a lot of air to move a 12-ton boat, and so I'm a bit concerned about how far those routing decisions that you make off very limited information concern me a little bit, but not from a safety perspective, but just from a sort of getting things done perspective.
Yeah. Did you do any weather modelling in terms of sort of like exactly a year ago before the start? You look at the weather that's happening and imagine your boat going around, or like follow it to see, or you're just going to go?
Yeah, I did. No, I did. I did. I've done a daily snap of windy. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure how useful it is. So I think it's useful big picture. I don't think it. In the army, would say it's strategically useful, but not operationally or tactically useful. So I think.
Excuse me, hang on, I need to remember that.
Yeah,
that's a good line.
So it's good to understand the big bits of the systems. But to be honest, the big bits of the system are written down in books anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems clear to me that the key piece of information will be, where is the St. Helena High?
Yeah.
On the way down.
Yeah. Very.
Where is the Azores High on the way up?
Yeah.
And so just trying to work out. That's really what you need to know, and all of the other routings kind of just go straight there. And I had a lovely chat with Simon. Simon Cohen was nice enough to give me a fair amount of his time when I was just getting this thing started a couple of years ago, and he just said to me, you're not going fast enough. You haven't got enough information. You want to go the shortest route possible, and then what will be, because you're very unlikely to sail further and get there quicker without any information in a slow boat. And I think he's right.
Absolutely. He did exactly what Jean-Luc did. You know, they steer straight line and they keep adjusting the sails. Many of the skippers will follow the wind to keep the boat comfortable, thinking they're going faster and stuff. But you look at the tally at the end of the race, the difference in distance is just massive. So both Jean-Luc and Simon, they were straight line sailors. They'd work out where they want to go. They'd hold the line and just keep adjusting sails. You know, it's quite amazing. Anyway, we digress there a bit. Okay, I'm going to hit straight to word associations now. Okay, so
Okay.
you know how this works,
Ready.
right? I can throw you anything because you're military, you know. But anyway, okay, so knife,
Gun.
sleep,
Fatigue.
panic,
Alarm.
father,
John.
winner,
Golden Globe.
death,
Sailing.
cold. Sorry for laughing on that one. Jeepers.
Down
When do I go
jacket.
cold?
Down jacket.
Risk,
Mitigation.
impossible,
Nothing.
overboard,
Man.
sponsors,
Essential.
excitement,
Fun.
lonely,
Southern Ocean.
dreams,
Boat.
money,
Insufficiency.
Vendée Globe,
Too fast.
war,
Peace.
Suhaili,
Sir Robin.
clean sheets,
Salty.
inspiration,
Tillman.
hunger,
Food.
fear,
Scared.
adventure,
Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to be quick, aren't I? Challenge.
Les Sables alone.
Golden Globe.
Okay, there you go. No, that's interesting. Everyone has a different take and a different response time and stuff like that. But geez, what made me laugh? That was a classic. What was it? I said something. Was it death? And you said sailing. Why did you? What was the response there? What's the connection?
Well, I mean, it's the most likely chance that I'm going to die in the next year, isn't it, Don?
Touch wood. It's an interesting
I don't
subject.
know,
You know?
but you know, it's a risky business.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And in fact, I think I'd have to read it again, but I think we say somewhere in the entry application that most people don't see. It said, "Do you realise that something the sailing is really dangerous? It can be injured. You might die. You know, whatever." And we make a point of bringing it up because it is. It's high risk. We've been really lucky so far, touch wood, but it's not as bad as mountain climbing. Put it that way, you know.
I wonder whether so clearly on that first race in 1968, you had Sir Robin Knox-Johnson. You had a number of people. There were some notable exceptions, but a number of people who are very experienced long distance sailors, and so that comes with the territory. You sort of know that intrinsically, but as the Golden Globe becomes this popular and this much of an event, many more people are being pulled into it who perhaps don't have that depth of experience. And so it's an interesting one that you have to be that clear, because of course people might not have fully actually gone through that thought process.
Absolutely, there's a big thing, and it's something we refer to all the time, and we are certainly probably talk about it, but sailors have died racing around the world solo. I know a few people that I knew reasonably well that didn't make it, and it's part of the territory, which to a degree sometimes gets left behind. But I know even when I did my circumnavigation, at one stage we were in a storm heading towards Cape Horn, and we were moving exactly the same as the storm speed. It was moving at about 10 knots. We were averaging about 8 and a bit knots, and we're in it for like 10 days. And I was really scared. So were other people. I got rolled 360. Another guy was upside down for 12 minutes, kangaroo Birtles, and another one. It was amazing, and I was very, very scared. But anyway, we do what we do. And the interesting one for you, do you think, because I say this often, do you think the risk is part of the attraction? If there was no risk, you wouldn't be there, but
Not for me.
no?
I don't think.
Okay.
No, because I spend my whole time mitigating risk. I don't. I think wanting risk for the risk's own sake. So I suppose it is insofar as the challenge is the challenge, and so few people have done it because of the risk. So I suppose if you can draw a line eventually to the risk.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm not a habitual risk taker for the sake of it. I'm exactly the opposite, because that's what I do for work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's effectively the ethos. It's the ethos of the GGR, because we create these events and they're really risky, and we are extreme on risk mitigation and risk assessment and try to make it as safe as it can possibly be. But there's always an element of risk. But people often from the outside looking in, they think it's way too risky, but it's part of the challenge.
This comes back to what we were talking about though, Don, because, previously, in 1968, there weren't really any rules. You just crack on, do it yourself. But you're not necessarily working with everybody at the same level, and so you have to lay down pretty firm rules. And and I mean, but risk is interesting. And I was speaking about this with the army because there's lots of views on what I should or shouldn't do, and the bottom line is it's going to be me in the boat, and so I want the risk because I'm best placed to manage it. On the spot. So I think you do have to be happy with risk. You have to be happy with how to manage it, and most of that's happening now, right? Most of it, there's no point trying to do it once you're out there. It's all got to be done in the prep and the boat being ready in the right way.
Well, I put you down to one of the entrants, and at the end of the day, if we let you go, and we no doubt will, it means you're a responsible risk taker. And the reason we have 62 pages in the notice of race, or however many pages it is because I call it playing the game. Once you do an event that's a profile and you have websites and media and things like that, you've got to abide by certain standards of safety and this, that, and the other. And you've got to do everything you possibly can to make sure you can look after yourself. But if it all goes wrong, right, and you need someone to help you, you got to look your rescuer in the eye and say, look, here's the deal. I did everything possible before this to make sure it wasn't going to happen. Now it's happened. I've done everything possible to make your job as easy as possible. Thank you. It's all about trying to play by the rules. So anyway, we digress. Coming back to the boat, have you got a relationship with your boat already? Like you love your boat, you talk to the boat, you know what it's you and the boat together already?
I've not done enough miles in her, I don't think.
Okay.
She was being a bit of an uncompromising bitch on the way over the Atlantic, if I'm honest. But I quite like that. She's got a ruthless streak to her. I don't tend to anthropomorphize boats so much, I don't think. I think, but you do. You have that tactile relationship with a boat. The way in which you hold the companionway as you swing down, and it's all just very comfortable. And of course, by the time I go, I need to know where everything is, and I need to know every inch of her. And you do become quite intimate's probably the wrong word, but by the time you go.
Yep. Okay. Now for some tricky questions. So pick a number between 1 and 10.
7.
7. How would you like to make a living?
By being in the army.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm doing what I like.
Yeah. Okay. So 11 to 20.
13.
13. To date, what's the best thing you've ever done and why?
I think the best thing I've ever done is sail alone across the Pacific. I'm not just saying that because it's a sailing interview. It was probably the most, it's led me to do this, which I think is going to be a seminal moment in my life so far. And it was just the first time I did it, and I did it on a shoestring, and it was just brilliant.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. 21 to 30.
24.
24. What's your nickname and why, if you've had a nickname?
I don't know what my blokes called me when I was company commander, but it's probably not repeatable on a live interview. But I don't know. I've been called Woots in the past, but
Woots.
that's just I'm afraid that's just a shortening of my surname. It's quite tedious.
Okay.
You'll enjoy this tree beard occasionally. When I first started in the army, my
Tree
other
beers.
tree beard is in the
Oh
character
yeah.
from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
When I
Okay.
first started in the army, the other trainers, Frodo and Bilbo, and so I arrived and I was called Treebeard.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. 31 to 40.
36.
36. Do you follow your heart or your head?
Head, probably.
Head. That's because you're a thinker. Military training. Go with what you learn. Instinct, all that stuff. Okay.
Emotions are
41.
illogical.
Sorry?
Emotions are illogical.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm
Yeah.
also British. I'm very good at burying emotions deep down, Don. I've had a lifetime of training in genetics.
Yeah. Okay. I'll believe you. So that really was coffee, not a Guinness that you had before.
No, it's definitely Guinness.
Yeah. Okay, so we did 40. So 41 to 48.
45.
45. And it's amazing. There's so many people picking the same questions. Maybe
Give me another one if you like, Don.
Hey?
You give me another one if you want.
Yeah, we might look at that. Anyway, if something happened and you lost everything, what would you do?
In sailing terms, as in, or just generally?
No, just in life. So in life, if something happened and you lost everything, you're just standing there with the clothes, that's it, you've lost a lot, what would you do?
I would hitchhike my way to Palma and find a yacht to crew on.
Okay, you're bound to meet some people on the way. That makes sense. Yep. Okay. So now it gets really tricky. These are the super obscure questions. You got to pick a letter between between Alpha and November. A and N.
Hotel.
Hotel. Are you a hunter or a gatherer? Geez, that's pretty obvious.
Hunter. I'd like to be a hunter.
Yeah, I think so. In the army. Okay, that was too boring. I'll give you another one. A to N, but not H.
Charlie.
Charlie. What do you think of garden gloves and why?
I think they're great because I use them on the boat the whole time because they protect my hands from all of the oils and liquids that seep from every crack and machine in my boat.
It's funny, because I've asked that question before and I got exactly the same answer. And garden gloves are really quite versatile. So anyway, all right. Now, tongue twister, but you probably know this. Hang on. Do you think that penguins have knees? And why? No, hang on a sec. That's not working. I can't even understand my own writing. This is bad. Knees. Why? Jeez, I can't work it out. We'll scrap that. Would you, how would you? No, I'm running out of bits here. Anyway, I'm going to go for the usual one. What do you actually find at the end of a rainbow?
The rest of the rainbow stretching out in front of you infinitely until you're out of the rain shower.
W, whiskey. That's at the end of rainbow. Just...
Oh, I thought this was about my philosophy. Or is there is there a correct answer here, Don?
Yeah, W is at the end of the rainbow.
Oh, sorry. No, I misunderstood the game.
No excuses. I can't even understand my own writing, so that's okay. Anyway, enough of that rubbish. Okay, so now that some practical aspects of the actual voyage, what are you going to eat? Are you a wet man or a freeze dried or what?
I'm definitely taking hydrated food.
Why? Why? Is it easy or what?
Because it's easier, and because it's nicer.
Nicer.
And I think, yeah. I mean, especially if you buy it in France, which is sort of the world's centre of delicious things in tins.
I missed it. I thought you said freeze dried.
No, hydrated. I said.
Oh, hydrated. Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah,
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 I thought you dehydrated.
yeah.
Okay, I'm with you now. I know what's going on. Yes, I agree.
But also water. You know,
Yeah,
you know, I can't recall the exact rule in the NOR, but I think you're not keen for a whole load of additional jerry cans and what have you. And so you're stuck with the water tanks that are in the boat. And I've got enough, but not enough if I'm hydrating food as well.
yeah.
Um,
That's
so,
interesting. I think we say you've got to have minimums, but yeah, I might have put a cap on the
so
number.
I think there's something saying you're not allowed bladder tanks, but
Yeah,
also
go to
you need to go with the water tanks that were fitted.
or minimum
As
as
in
a
you want,
minimum, because some of them got about
okay.
460 liters on tanks. So
So I've got about 550.
oh,
Um,
sheepers, that's huge. Yeah,
yeah, so I've got a lot.
yeah,
But I'm not comfortable. So clearly you can collect water, but
yeah,
I'm just not comfortable going without enough water for the
yeah.
whole
I'm with
thing
you. I know
because
exactly what
I
you
don't
say.
want to risk it.
Yeah,
And I know from experience offshore, I know I can get away with between, well, 2 litres of water a day is fine with a wash, and I can go
yeah,
down to hard rations and 1.5. So, but hydrated food, I think, is just more tasty and you don't have to carry the water.
absolutely. Yeah,
It's also cheaper because
yeah,
camping food is massively expensive if it's nice
absolutely.
stuff. And
Yeah,
eating the not nice stuff for 200 days is a bit grim.
yeah. No, it makes sense. And the supermarkets here are insane. You can really go to town on them. Even Jean Luc was the funniest one. He took truckloads of TV dinners, the microwave dinners, and he just
Yeah.
put them in a boiling pan of salt water, bring it to the boil, let it sit for about 10 minutes, then bring it to the boil again, turn it off, and just get into it. It was so yeah, that's cool. And so, anything that are you a cockpit man or your mainsail gear? I forget now. Coming back to the cockpit, or you go to the mast?
No, it's all come to the cockpit.
Yeah, that's
So
what.
so I have changed it.
Yeah,
I had a really robust mast setup with plenty of space for granny bars, which I think are essential for a mast setup.
yeah,
Um, but I think that I can make it work in the cockpit. I spent a long time. I spent almost all of my time so far working on the sail handling system
yeah,
because of the difficulty of routing the lines back with no friction.
yeah,
But I don't want to be out of the cockpit unless I absolutely have to be. For me, it's a safety issue.
yeah,
And so I've got. I remember something Kirsten said on an interview. I think she was in South Africa at the time. She was talking about her stay sail, and she said she had never been in weather that was heavy enough that the stay sail wasn't all right.
yeah,
Because they're quite small stay sails at a big boat.
yeah,
And so I thought, well, so I've now got both of them on a furler, so I can go up and down through the gears really easily.
yeah,
And I'll have to do, if I have to put the storm jib up, it'll be a bit of a nuisance. But I very much prioritized comfort for 95% of the time,
yeah.
rather than sort of having looked at
Not
some
such
of
a-
the other approaches, and
Yeah,
this is perhaps a little bit. I think that there are some approaches which are a little bit too. I'm going to be absolutely bomb-proof when I get hit by a force 12,
yeah,
but then I'm going to be really uncomfortable for the rest of the time. Specifically,
yeah,
I'm looking at like people who've got like the tiny little hard spray hoods over the top of the companionway, and you think, okay, so that's great in a force 12 in the Southern Ocean, but 95% of the time you're just going to be in the tropics or just sailing along in fairly
yeah,
good weather, and you've
yeah.
got no protection. So I've made a lot of those decisions, and yeah, the sail handling was one of them. I don't want to be on
Yeah,
a foredeck. Being
one
on
of
a
the big ones.
foredeck and moving up and down the boat on your own is just massively spiking the risk
I'm
factor for me.
completely with you on that. We're on the same page because, yeah, it's just nice to be able to handle the mainsail from the cockpit. And I used to handle all my poles up and down from the cockpit as well, so you could actually run twin poles, and then you could actually furl one up and just don't even leave the cockpit, and then let it slide, let go the foot, and let it slide down the furled sail. Anyway, yeah, interesting. And always remember Jean-Luc and Uku in 2018, they never changed the sail for the whole race. It was the mainsail, staysail, and Genoa. That was it. All they did was reef them all. And Jean-Luc had reef everything from the cockpit, and all he did was those three sails and spinnakers. That's it, all the way around.
There's a couple of things where I think that the sailing sort of world hasn't necessarily moved with the times particularly well, and I
Yeah,
think one of them for me, and I know this is controversial, one of them is servo pendulum vane gears. For me,
Yeah.
hydro vanes are so good nowadays that the
Yeah.
disadvantages of a servo pendulum make them quite archaic. And I think a lot of the complaints about hydro vanes are now no longer the case. They're so good now. But the other thing is this idea of putting sails up and down, so putting different sails up and down so you get a good shape. And if you're downwind, it doesn't matter. You can get padded luffs, and the performance increase on offshore type sailing is just
huge.
marginal. It's so marginal that
not having to do that. Yeah.
But then it's about being not lazy and getting up front to check things, because you don't have to leave the cockpit, but clearly you have to not be lazy. You've got to go and check your split pins and everything.
It's funny. It's all going to get very interesting now, because more and more people are looking at these sorts of issues, and it becomes a conversation point, because I'm amazed. You're right. Anyway, I'm just a lazy sailor, because that leads to less risk, and it can lead to more speed, and so many times I used to rush from down below, rush out into the cockpit, and you wouldn't even have time for wet weather gear, and you'd be really busy, but you're covered, you know what I mean, and you're doing stuff, and then you can get down. But geez, if I had to go to the mast every time, it'd be bloody horrible. There you go. I'm just lazy.
But the other thing is it's human nature. So if it is difficult to do, you will do it later.
Absolutely.
When it's not too windy, or you won't do it at all. And so if you make it really easy to be safe and to make the right decision, then you will make the right decision. So you set yourself up for success, I think.
Yeah, too true. Okay, so anything you want to get across to your followers and so on? Because have you been filming to put something up on as a video before the start for your video followers?
I'm going to try, but to be honest, the filming of boat work is incredibly time intensive, and I've got to prioritize getting the boat ready. And so I'm not sure if there's going to be much long form YouTube content, but I'm planning to sort of film as much as possible all the way up to, and within the bounds of the rules on the race as well. And I know all of that stuff is shared, but then at some point when the seal comes off it, once you guys are done with it, maybe doing some YouTube of the footage I get. I haven't found a drone without GPS yet, Don.
You haven't found one?
I haven't found a drone without GPS. No.
Oh, there's a couple. I bought a drone the other day. It costs $18, €18. I bought a drone, and it sort of does just about everything. I'm not saying you should throw them away, but anyway. It's difficult, but it'd be risky. I don't know. We've said, okay, find one without, and you can do it. But some of the cheap ones are, because you're supposed to not go more than 100 meters away. Anyway, that's life. Okay, I asked a question of Gunnar the other day. It was the first time I'd asked it. It was an interesting conversation, so I'll do the same as the final one. If there was something you could change about the GGR, what would it be?
I think there are some rules in the NOR which I think impinge on my right to make my own decisions about what I think is safe.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which ones, if you don't mind?
The hard dodger rule.
Oh yeah.
Which we talked about before, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's stuff like, it's like, funnily enough, actually, I spinnaker snuffers.
Spinnaker snuffers. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that. You say it's not thingo, but what that says is that if you're not happy to put the spinnaker up, don't put the spinnaker up.
No, I get it. No, so to be clear, Don, I'm not taking issue with. I think that there's no one I would rather sort of defer to when it came to safety in offshore races.
Yeah.
But I think I suppose the spinnaker one isn't necessarily me thinking that you're taking that from us. I think it's more just that
It'd be faster if they had snuffers.
I will put spinnaker up if I need one.
Yeah.
I will do it with wool because that's what's allowed. But I think that particular exemption probably creates more risk to the competitors than anything else in the race. Because big foresails when you're on the foredeck getting thrown over by a sheet is entirely possible. But to be honest, it's a minor thing, and I don't have the experience of the Southern Ocean, so I would like to have a hard dodger, because I think that the risks are outweighed by the benefits, and I would like to decide whether they do. But then you've got to draw the line somewhere, and I don't have experience of the Southern Ocean, so maybe it's a bit strong.
No,
I'm certainly not miffed or anything.
No, I'm not even suggesting that's the case. It's interesting to get people's opinions to see what works and what doesn't. And we've thought a lot about the snuffers, and in the end we said no, because it wasn't there then, and if someone is uncomfortable with putting it up, which slows them down, they won't try to put it up. And then the dodgers, we've explained what it is. For those that don't know the deal, we believe it creates windage down the back of the boat, which can slew the boat round, and so a soft dodger you could still have up for the majority of the time and then fold it down, after that. But anyway, part of the course.
I've got an acrylic Astrodome, Dom.
Cool.
Dom, that I'm going to have a separate lid that I can put on my companionway with a dome in it. So when I put my orange spray hood down, I'll have a dome on top instead, so I can still see what's going on. Very excited about it. I'm going to take delivery in 2 days. I'm looking forward to my acrylic dome.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, that was all fun, and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation, in the future, different times, and see you when you get here.
Great. Looking forward to it, Dom. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yep, good on you. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye.